Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Hangout Podcast, Season 3, Episode 14. And we are here right after Thanksgiving. This is kind of a special podcast, a special time. And I've got Debbie. And Debbie, I'm still going to mess up your last name. So please introduce yourself. And I can't wait to tell your story.
All right. I'm Debbie Meritsky, and I'm here in Knoxville.
I know we just Knoxville, and if anybody's not been to Knoxville, go and visit it because it's a really pretty cool place to hang out. So let's just jump in because I'm really super excited when I get to talk with entrepreneurs that have always been entrepreneurial. And so when I invited Debbie to come on, in her write-up, it's like she's always been self-employed. So like Debbie, you are right up my alley. You are like the sweet spot of Entrepreneurs Hangout podcast. Tell us a little bit about your story.
So I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was about 26, and I had been in the restaurant industry after cooking school in Vermont for about 10 years. And I decided working for other people wasn't for me. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial house, so it was kind of a good guidepost.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, so when I first started my first business, it was the first of its kind private chef service in the Cleveland, Ohio area, which is where I'm from originally.
Okay.
So that went in from a private chef service, working with a lot of women wanting to feed their family better food, but still wanting to have a life, and many of them still worked. So I came in, prepared fresh meals in their home, utilizing everything they had. And then I would also
great.
go for them. That morphed into a long-term catering business.
Okay, now I want to say something because what year was that? Because this is pivotal, because that was already ahead of its time.
Yes, it was. So my first, I think I landed my first job in 1988 or 89.
Wow.
Long time ago. Yeah, and that just morphed. So I ended up having a really amazing, clients were amazing. The business morphed multiple times over the years, and it just turned into probably the most fun I ever had. It really was.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it because you were so like you were a pioneer. I mean, think about it. Like, did you ever think that? So okay. Now, so I've got a couple of questions. So how did you get now? So you decided that being an employee at a restaurant, because obviously you were a chef, wasn't for you. And then you probably had a lot of things going on in your head as to like, okay, well, what am I going to do? How did you shift that? How did you shift and how did you get your first client? Do you remember how you got her?
Yeah, I do actually. So the shift came, I decided to start working in restaurants, and I went 2 years and I worked for my father, and he had a telecommunications business. And that was just kind of to get me in a different position. The best thing my father ever did for me was get me training in how to sell. And when we sell, we're not selling the product, we're selling us.
Yep.
That's what we have to learn to understand. As young women, as older women, as young men, this is about sales in a way that people don't understand today.
Mm-hmm.
So I read an article or an ad request in a local newspaper, and there was a gal looking for a private chef and a housekeeper.
Okay.
Met with her 6-year-old daughter. And I said, look, I'll be very frank. I'm not a housekeeper. I said, but I will prepare amazing food for you. So we did it. And she found herself a separate cleaning lady and lived 2 separate worlds. And I worked for this client for probably 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
And
that is awesome.
And from there, I was the talk of the town at the nail salon, which got me into all the other houses.
Yeah.
So it just built, and it was all word of mouth. So think about that. In 88, 89, no social media, no cell phones, no computers. None of that was going on.
Right,
This
right,
was
right,
the epitome of how sales were done. And
right.
when you have a good network and when you have word of mouth, that's your best advertisement.
Yeah. I I think
Just
that's
bar none.
amazing. I think
So
that's amazing, Debbie.
it was great. I mean, I never realized just how good I had it. Um, so, the sad part is, I'll be honest, if I had met my husband earlier, I would have probably retired a lot earlier because I would have franchised what I was doing,
That's funny.
to be honest. So,
Yeah,
um, but things happen the way they're supposed to. Things come to you when they're supposed to. So,
100%.
um, so while that was all going on, other things had been happening. Um, and at some point, I decided I needed to shift gears again. And that happened when I was in my late 30s. And I said to my husband, I need a new world. I need a new city. I need a new everything. 20 years was a really long time and I was beat up. So we were in the Finger Lakes. I said, well, it's kind of pretty here. Got on a real estate site and ended up finding a house online when we got back home that we went back to see just a couple weeks later and fell in love with this house. It was an old, dilapidated, unlived in uh, stone structure that was octagonal. And we bought it, did 6.5 years of a restoration while we were still in Cleveland working our full-time jobs. So it became our second full-time job.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I closed my business. It was supposed to sell and then the market crashed. But I closed my business up and I moved to New York to open the inn in the beginning of '07. And that
Okay.
was a whole other thing. And there again, we were doing things that no one else was doing. I
Sure.
created the first farm to table bed and breakfast in the region. So we were very lucky to connect with dozens of farms. We worked very closely with our food co-op in Ithaca, which is about an hour from our inn. And we ended up sourcing about 80% of our ingredients from within 50 miles of the inn. So I had people doing butchering for me. I used to make my own sausage and bacon, all of our own baked goods, all of that. And it was a 15-year run, not mentioning the 6.5 years of the gut restoration of the
Yeah.
property. So, yeah, it's been a journey. I'm literally in recovery from 35 years of killing myself.
Yeah.
And then it went into last year. I ended up going into there's a group that I learned about when I was trying to figure out how to heal my body, and it ended up being the root cause protocol group.
Hmm.
And so I took the training a year and a half ago, and now I'm adding that to my repertoire of what I'm doing to work with other people.
Okay. So, but still food based.
Very much food oriented.
Okay.
And it's really geared toward getting people to rethink how they eat, what they eat, and how they deal with their stress in their body and all those things.
Okay.
Uh, because so many people are out of balance.
Yeah. Well, don't we know that in lots of different ways?
Yes. Yes.
But that being said, okay, so now you are again reinventing yourself, like a lot of entrepreneurs do. And is it scary right now?
It's scary in a new way. Um, interesting thing. So when we sold the inn, we were supposed to travel for a year.
Hmm.
COVID shut everything down, of course, for
Oh,
everybody. So
yeah.
we were 3 weeks in and we were like, oh my God, everything we own is in storage. We had everything we needed in the van we were traveling in. And I was like, oh my God, we have to go find some place to live because I'm not staying in an Airbnb every day.
Yeah.
So we ended up several years before we knew we were selling the inn, we came down to Tennessee to kind of purview and see what
Yeah.
was happening. And the choice became between Chattanooga and Knoxville. I
Oh,
said,
I've been
let's
in
not
both.
go to Knoxville. Let's find a place to live and hunker down while everything settles.
Hmm.
And in there, we did that. It took us a month to find our house. And then finished that up. I started the granola business. And I'd already kicked it off sort of in New York. So I
Okay.
picked it up and just created a name. So it's Eat My Granola. And we are geared toward gluten-free, organically sourced, whole food, no processed sugars, no seed oils. So we are on the side that no other company is doing. And we
That's
also,
amazing.
yeah. And then the fun thing that we do, which I really, really love, we make custom granola. So you can go on our
Ah,
website and you can build your own blend, and I will bake it and ship it to you.
that's great. I love it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to connect you with my friend. Well, she's also reinventing, not reinventing herself, but she had a an amazing farm and did a lot of other things, and
Oh, wow.
but she's but and I say that now, but she's got an amazing, very, very high level knitting business. So I'm going to be careful because I know she's going to listen to this at some point or another. So, but but she also sells kefirs, right?
Good for her.
And yes, yeah, and it's great. She's in the outside the Atlanta area,
Okay.
in Tallulah Gorge area, a beautiful, beautiful area, a lot like what we, because this is the girlfriend that we all meet. We always meet, like, okay, where are we going to meet? Well, we met in Knoxville, right? And we've also met in Chattanooga. So
Great.
so it's like her, that Tallulah Gorge area is really beautiful, very, very mountainous and stuff like that. But my point is back to, I love the fact that you can order your blend
Yeah.
of your granola, and so that's awesome. So now you're in Knoxville.
Mhm.
You're not going to do the travel thing because of obviously COVID shut you down.
Yeah.
And so how did you feel when you're like, am I always going to be struggling? Am I always going to be like on that hamster wheel, struggle, 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 struggle? Because you probably felt a little exhausted, hey?
It was more mental. I mean, there was some definite
Mm,
physical exhaustion just from everything, and there's that letdown, selling the property a month before COVID broke out. I was like, "Holy crap." And then just
yeah,
grateful, and then all of a sudden
yeah,
everything they giveth and they taketh. So, um, it's just been a blend, and
yeah,
yes, we work a lot of hours still, but it's very different. This is more mental than physical, where
yeah,
those jobs previously were very physically oriented, that we were always moving and going. So now it's a bit different. And I wouldn't call it a struggle. I think it just brings new challenges to the forefront.
mm,
And
mhm,
I think it's important to remember that when that happens, you have new opportunities facing you.
yeah,
So it's all about how you address them and
yes,
how you either let it affect you or how you take over and you say, I see opportunity,
mhm.
let's figure something out. Yeah.
I like that, Debbie, because part of like when I take on a new client, we go through the mental aspect, their attitude, their mindset.
Yes.
And like I can't my being is really not really great around negative people, like, right? It just doesn't suit me. And so um and I'm talking from like, okay, you're a coffee shop owner and I want to support you, but like, oh my gosh, every time I go in, you've got something negative to say. I'm
Oh,
like, I just shut down. And
right.
so that is a big difference. If you're a negative person, please don't be an entrepreneur. Please don't try because it's just never going to happen.
You're going to have an interesting journey if you don't see some light at the end of the tunnel sometimes. It's not
Yeah.
easy. At the end of the day, truly, it's not easy. But if you have um, some fortitude, like a
Yeah.
lot of fortitude, and you have some backbone, and you're going to need a helmet.
Yeah. I love it.
Life requires a helmet, and it's kind of funny. So I had we named it a very specific name, but when I was running the catering, and my husband was very involved in the business after we had met and married, and I would, up front, I'm like super happy with the guests and the clients and blah blah blah, and I would come back and I would have like caterers Tourette's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same thing with the inn. I was like, I get innkeeper's Tourette's. I'm like, oh my god! But you just, sometimes you
Yeah.
have to do that. You've got to release it, and then you've got to address it on the other side. But it was never dull. And Mark just kind of goes, okay.
That's funny. No, an entrepreneur's life is never dull. It
No,
might
no,
feel scary. Well, it's going to feel scary. It is going to feel, there are going to be highs and lows and all of that, but dull is definitely not one of them.
no. And
Yeah.
when I talk to people about when they're starting businesses or when they're trying to do something different, my one piece of advice has always been stop and watch what's happening. And I say, you really need to niche down. You need to
Mhm.
dig deep, find what no one else is doing,
Right.
and you will make an amazing business. But you've got to be able to do that. And you've got to, I always say to people, you ever watch a business chart for a corporation? It's like a stock chart. You know,
Yeah.
business is not linear. You can't behave in that way. You have to allow those highs and lows to help re-guide you and
Right.
get you rethinking. So it's a really important thing. Um, but a lot of people get too scared. And I
Mhm.
say, stop using that word because now you are feeding that animal in your head
Correct.
and you will not get past it.
Right. Well, it's like I have a saying, it's like what you speak about, you bring about.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
a lot of people think that that's a little bit like, woo woo. Okay. It
No,
is if you, but here's it, but it is the truth. It is the truth
it is.
because, like, I have this thing that's called travel karma, right? And I typically, I travel a lot and I get super lucky. I do. I don't get super lucky. It's just because I go into it with a better attitude. I'm like, I go into it with like, I'm going to have really good, travel karma today. I travel with a dog. We're going to have great dog people, whatever it might be. And, and then like, again, the negative Nellies, they're like, oh, I'm like, well, okay. Cause it's like, you speak about what you bring about, but I don't say that. I don't say that. I try to listen and be a little earful for a little while. So, all right. So now you told me you have an event tomorrow,
Yes.
right?
I have
So
a
tell us a
big,
little bit about that.
so here in Knoxville, there's so many markets happening. And thankfully, we do not have northern weather. So it is,
Yeah.
although it's going to be cold, it's still going to be a gorgeous day. I will be at the downtown Maryville Holiday Market, which is taking
Okay.
place all along Broadway. There's going to be over 120 makers, growers, producers at this market. So one of the other businesses that we have, and we had it in New York, we put it on hiatus while we were moving, is our art studio.
Okay.
So our art studio is called Master Repurposers, and Mark and I are
Mm,
incredibly passionate about recycling and
I
not
love it.
things go in the dump. So when we make art, his is stained glass, but he uses a lot of repurposed components, and I do resin, mosaic, jewelry. I do all kinds of fun stuff, and we teach classes, and we have kits available.
Okay,
So
that's
all of
awesome.
these things happen and we will be at this. I will be at the market tomorrow from, I think it opens up at 10 a.m. and it goes until 6. Big
Okay.
lighting ceremony, holiday trees, the whole thing. It's going to be a great market every year. It's fantastic. So it's one of our bigger holiday markets, but we're at, we sell at farmers markets and then it gets our art in there. So we're
Mm-hmm.
all over Knoxville. We teach at a bunch of community colleges at their adult lifelong learning programs. So I essentially have 3 small businesses going. It's very interesting. It's never dull. Um, and so you kind of roll with it and just have fun. Just have
I
fun with
love it. I love it. So this is great. So Debbie, I am going to be getting you in touch with my friend
it. I would
Zelm,
love that.
Debbie,
Yeah.
because she's close enough by, and I'm telling you, I know that you guys would be like, you have so much to talk about. And she actually is looking for some higher end, um, um, shows for the most part. Events like the markets
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for her knitting business, and she's like a mastery knitting knitter.
I
And
got some interesting ideas for her.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I knew it. So I told you I'm a good connector. That is great. But what is amazing is sometimes I think that entrepreneurs suffer with one thing. I mean,
Mhm.
so I teach something, it's my business in a box, right? And I bring on clients that are either maybe they have a business, but they haven't quite tried to figure out how to scale and grow, or they're startups, right? So one of my clients, I think that they come on with a little bit of like an imposter syndrome where they think like, okay, I've moved my businesses around. I've gone from here, I've gone from there. And they think in their head that their friends are going to say, oh my gosh, what is he or she doing now? Right? You and I have been there. I know that. I know this, where we've had friends say, you're doing what? Like that's totally so you're adding something new, you're doing something else. But the thing of it is, so I want to hear from you, which you've got 3 businesses, but in your heart of hearts, in your thing, they all flow with the same beautiful idea, which is you are creative and you are going to make this business work. So just talk to my listeners, our listeners now, about like, what if they're in that boat, what does it look like for you?
Interesting question. It's interesting. My core group of friends understands very much that I am balls to the wall. I just am. That's how I roll. I would, this sounds sad, but true. And it's not sad. It's just how I'm made. I would much rather be working in and on my businesses than doing much of anything else.
Yeah, I know.
It's just how I am. And if, at the end of the day, if you are not that focused, then you can't make your business go the way it should. Yes, it's lovely when our friends support us, but that isn't always going to be the case to support us financially. So we have to look way above and way beyond and say, okay, who is our core client? What are their pain points? And how do I help fix them? I'm going to give you the name of a book, and I would love your followers and your listeners to read this book. Not once, but 2 or 3 times. It's a quick, easy read. There's a guy by the name of Michael Gerber, and the book
I know this one.
The E-Myth Revisited.
I eat, sleep, and breathe it, Debbie. So I pump it out there. I've actually met Michael Gerber.
Awesome. It is the most simplistic, easy methodology to understand how to meet your clients where they are before they even know they're there.
Yeah.
That's the core of his book. Get there before your customers do and show them what you have available. Now you have endless energy and opportunities ahead of you, because
I love it.
You hit one and you hit their pain points the way they can't even imagine you're going to hit them. Now they're going to tell everyone they know. And that, my dear, is the way you get business going.
Yep.
Ads on Facebook and Instagram and all that other junk mean nothing. You're wasting time. You're wasting money. Focus your income and your dollars in a direction that actually makes financial sense.
Right. And know what your clients are looking for and how you can help them. And if your passion's not actually helping them, whether you are making a special granola for them or you're helping them scale and grow in their business, you really need to know that your product, service, what you're doing, what you're selling, who you are, really is there to help them.
Agreed.
So, I mean, I always say, like, go, you need to come helping, serving, and not with hands open saying, I need. No, what can I give first? What can I give?
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's an interesting paradigm to get people to understand. And I think, as I'm in my 60s. I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
There is a very different mindset now about sales than there was when I started out. And it's not sure it's always good or bad. It's just different. So, I expect, I'm not sure where you are age-wise, but you probably would understand and agree. Yep. Things have shifted quite a bit in the mindset of buyers and what their needs are and how to attempt to get to them.
I'm going to wrap it up with this because I think you just hit it. We started out with sales, right? We did the story of sales, and then we ended with the story of sales. And I get a lot of people like, oh, I'm not good at sales. But you know what? if you do it right and you believe in what you're doing, and again, you show up serving and not asking,
Yes.
then that actually is sales. It's put into a different little box, with a different bow, but it is sales.
Yes.
It's not sales if you love what you're doing. If you know, my friend, Debbie, now tomorrow you're going to be going and seeing loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of people, right?
Yeah.
And I know how much that sucks the energy out of you. But I also can see you, visualize you love what you do. And so therefore, every single person that you get to have some sort of correspondence with, it's sales, but you're not selling anything. You're like offering, I am special. This is what it is. These are the things I know you need. And
Yeah.
I love that, Debbie.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely
That's
true.
awesome. That's awesome. All right. So I wish you all the best of luck tomorrow. I think that it's going to be great. I can't wait to see some of your Facebook photos, because I know you're going to be sending lots of photos on them. And I would love, what we will do is we'll make sure that we put ways that people can find you, your courses, your places, everything like that. So that'll be on Monday, because we are a little late. Yeah. And I just look forward to being a part of what your journey looks like and supporting you.
Well, that would be lovely. And I hope that we will have another conversation about this at some point.
Yeah, no, we're going to meet each other in person. Knoxville's not that far from me. So
well, where are you located? Where are you
I'm
located?
actually in Culpeper.
Okay.
So it's 5 or 6 hour drive, but it's a beautiful drive.
It is a good drive. All right.
It is.
Lovely.
All right, you guys. So thanks very much, you guys. Bye for now. And remember, if you want to be able to be a guest on my Entrepreneurs Hangout, hit me up in the chat and we'll schedule it. So bye for now.
See ya.